Well, it's really not my style aesthetically, and it's not my style really in terms of how they sound, but there's no denying that people have gotten some really, really good power and torque results utilizing a single exit 3-inch exhaust. So with that being said, I've long thought about what my 3-inch single exit exhaust system would look like. That's what this video is going to be about today. Not a lot of people have done it on the Q50 yet, but there's a lot of people starting to wonder about it, and a few have reached out to me recently asking what a Speed Culture Studios 3-inch single exit catback system would look like on the Q50. So that's what we're going to talk about today. As I said, I've thought about this a lot over the last couple of years, and I've even considered installing it on my own just so people could get an idea of what the thing would actually look like and sound like. So this video is going to go over exactly what I would do, or the components that I would use in constructing my own personal Speed Culture Studios single exit 3-inch custom catback system. I would actually keep this exhaust system relatively simple, and I say that because essentially the components that I would use are relatively the same as what I'm using with my dual catback system right now. Again, the Borla Pro XS muffler as the mid muffler, which is going to knock down all of that rasp like we have here, because fortunately Borla has a Pro XS muffler that has a dual inlet single outlet, so that allows both banks, essentially both exhaust banks from your V6 to come into a single muffler, basically replacing your factory Y pipe, allowing it to exit a single 3-inch diameter exhaust system or exhaust pipe the rest of the way out the back end of the car. And as I'm sure most of you are familiar with 3-inch catback systems or 3-inch single exit systems, most of them end not with just exhaust pipe going out the tail end of the car, right? They have that large resonator with a polished tip attached going out the back. And I found one for you, and I would use and I would recommend very highly Vibrant. Vibrant is something that I've recommended since the beginning of this channel. I'm a big fan of Vibrant muffler and Vibrant exhaust components. In this case, it's no different. I believe it's the Vibrant 1062, but I'll put the correct one down in the description below. That has a 3-inch inlet, and it goes to a massive round, I think 17-inch resonator, so it's a nice substantial resonator to knock down all those other crazy frequencies that are remaining that the Borla couldn't quite catch. And then it exits out a polished slant cut 4-inch exhaust tip. And that tip is connected to the Vibrant muffler. So it's one piece. I'll show you more pictures as we go through this video and kind of describe the routing that I would take underneath the car and the components that I would use and where I would use them. And we'll talk all about that. But just a quick rundown here. That's what I wanted to get in your mind, is that the mid muffler is still going to be a Borla Pro XS muffler, which is essentially a resonated Y pipe. Free flowing, but it's a big resonator. It knocks down all that rasp and craziness. It's going to allow you to keep a nice aggressive exhaust note, but it's not going to be ear piercing and nasty like some of these VQs can tend to be, especially with the 3-inch single exit. They get a little bit rowdy because you don't have two sides to add resonators to. You just have one pipe. So we're kind of limited on what we can do and how we can knock down some of these frequencies. So that Borla Pro XS mid muffler is essential, and then that big Vibrant resonator out the back is key as well. Now there is some room, and I think that you'd be able to find some room underneath the car if you wanted to add another resonator. And I'd still, in that case, recommend the U-Power resonator or the Flow FX resonator that a lot of people are using with this Speed Culture Studios custom catback, dual exhaust catback system that we're running right now. The thing is going to flow really, really well. It's going to sound pretty rowdy. But it's going to sound great. It won't be crazy in the cabin. It won't get those ear-piercing, raspy frequencies that the VQ tends to make with a single exit system. But it'll still give you that nice, aggressive growl on the highway, and I think that's what we're all looking for. So let's get a little bit deeper into the components that I would include in this system, how I'd route it on the underside of the car, and then ultimately, we need somebody to install it. This is something I wanted to pursue, but I just hate the idea of taking out my catback system because I love how this thing sounds. I'm kind of anal, and I like symmetry. So just seeing one tailpipe come out the back of a Q50 with the curves, the openings for a dual exhaust system, it just messes with my brain. So I'd love for somebody to try this system out, send us clips, send us dyno results if possible. I don't know that it's something that I'll pursue in the near future, so I just wanted to put some of the information out there and some of the components that I would potentially use personally. And if someone wants to pursue it and share the results, both sound, visual, and performance-wise in terms of horsepower numbers and torque numbers, I'd love it. I'd love to provide any guidance that I potentially can, in addition to the links that I'll provide in the description below, of course, and just help you share the results through social media so people can jump on this system as well. Of course, you guys know the Speed Culture Studios custom catback system includes the Borla Pro XS mid muffler, the Borla Pro XS muffler, which is essentially a large resonated X-pipe dual inlet, dual outlet. In this case, we're going single exit. So Borla, if I didn't mention at the beginning of the video, they do offer a resonated Y-pipe, essentially, that has a dual inlet single outlet. It's a dual 2.5-inch inlet to a single 3-inch outlet. And it's a massive resonator, so it does a lot of work knocking down any rasp and weird frequencies. Now, I would recommend keeping that 2-inch system from the engine back to that Borla muffler. That's going to help maximize scavenging. It's going to keep your torque number up, and it's just going to help keep that those exhaust gases moving very, very quickly into that resonator, and then it can move into the larger opening. If you guys have seen any of my exhaust videos, I've talked about the Motordyne engineers doing some experimenting with various test pipe diameters, various catback diameters on the dyno and the numbers that they have achieved, and they found that the smaller diameter pipe before the Y pipe, before the mid pipe connects, having that smaller diameter up front helps to maximize the torque numbers. And then opening that exhaust system up to a larger diameter, 3-inch potentially, which is our case in this single exit system, that allows that horsepower number to be maximized as well. So it's a great combination, in my opinion. I think this will work very, very well. So what you want to do is get a set of the 2.5-inch flanges that I've linked in all my other exhaust videos. It's going to allow you to connect to your test pipes or your factory catalytic converters just fine. You can connect to factory catalytic converters right now, and if you choose to upgrade, of course, for off-road use only, and you want to go to test pipes, you'll just be able to swap the test pipes right in. They'll bolt right up to your catback system. You won't even have to change anything out. So it works out perfectly. The flanges are an important addition. People have said, well, can I just weld this part right to my cats or right to my test pipes? Sure, you can, but why would you? Why would you do that? You want to be able to take it off and put it back on at any given time. What if you have some maintenance you need to do under the car? What if you got to drop your transmission? You want to be able to take that off without chopping it up. So the flanges are important. Get yourself a new set of gaskets. Check out Z1 Motorsports. I'll link in the description below. That's what I use as well. Otherwise, the factory 3-layer metal gaskets from Nissan, those work really, really well too. I actually prefer those. Those are my favorite ones. So with a new set of flanges and a new set of gaskets, you can bolt right up to your test pipes or factory catalytic converters. Then the exhaust shop that you take the car to, and get estimates before you go, because you don't want to be blindsided. Some people try to quote you some crazy, outrageous numbers. This should be a very simple system to create at any decent exhaust shop. It should just be an hour or two, no problem. Keep that in mind. They'll be able to bend the pipe to you, to that center. They'll be able to bend that pipe for you from those flanges that are bolted up to your test pipes, and they'll run it back to that dual inlet bore line. Here's some pictures of that for you, because it's essentially the same in my dual exhaust system as it would be in this single exit exhaust system, because those dual inlets come to the same point. Then they would take 3-inch pipe back from that 3-inch exit, 3-inch outlet on that Borla, and run it back to the rear of the car. Now the routing is what is kind of up in the air. What I would do, actually on this car, there's kind of two options. And what I would do is, looking at the front of the car, the Borla is going to be right around here in the dash section, sort of right under your feet, under the dash. The first option really could be coming into the Borla, the dual inlet, then exiting out the 3-inch single, run it down the passenger side in sort of that exhaust canal along the passenger side of the vehicle. And then once you get to the rear diff section, swing it around behind the rear diff and direct it right out toward the back of the car with that vibrant resonator. Now, the second option is more of a straight shot that goes directly out of the single exit of the Borla, traveling right down the driver's side of the vehicle and out that vibrant resonator out the back of the car. You've seen some of these direct route single exits on the 370Zs, I'm sure of it, and generally that's more of a rowdy sounding system. Having multiple curves in the system sort of tones the note down a little bit, but the straight shot is an option. Right here, you're looking at the underside of a Z with a system done at Soho Motorsports, and you can see it is literally just a straight pipe back from the Y back to the final resonator. One nice thing, though, is it does give you a nice straight shot to include an additional resonator if the system is a little bit too rowdy for your personal taste. You can see the area marked in blue here where you could potentially put a Flow Effects resonator right under the rear sway bar on the driver's side. All right, I'm going to attempt to illustrate this for you just to give you a little bit better visual. So this is your vehicle facing this direction. Obviously, your engine is up front. Here's your rear diff and some axles. Wow, those look great. And some fancy wheels. This is not to scale. Let me stress this is not to scale, but it should give you an idea of how I would route it. We'll go through both options here. So you can see your engine with your exhaust headers coming off. We'll say that you have test pipes, maybe like this. They both have flanges on them. And then that's why I say you purchase your 2.5-inch flanges. They both go right there, 2.5 inch. We're keeping it 2.5 inch to the Borla. And you have the shop fabricate your little, or bend up your 2.5-inch pipe like this to a Y. Jeez, let's go here, man. Okay, so this is all 2.5-inch pipe as well to your Borla dual inlet. Now, people always ask me, where do you put the flex pipe? Where do you put the flex pipe? Right here in this region. Just take a look at your factory exhaust system. It goes in the same place. We're not doing anything crazy here. And I do highly recommend the flex pipe because it does help reduce vibration in the system. When your engine torques on acceleration, you want flex pipe in order to reduce strain on the rest of your exhaust components and your exhaust hangers. But also when you have your AC running in the summertime, it causes additional vibration underneath the car. You'll feel it in your feet, especially if you don't have the flex pipe. So I highly recommend that, although it is optional. Now this would be your Borla. Wow, this is really not to scale. Borla, single exit. Now what I'm going to try to do is find a Borla with an offset single exit, which would help in these scenarios. You can put it on either side that benefits you. But for now, we'll go with the center exit. There's a small collar there. The first option is the way I probably would do it first for myself personally. It travels down this passenger side, nice smooth curves to eliminate any crush bends because, of course, an exhaust shop that's local to you is probably not going to be doing mandrel bends. So it's going to flow nicely just like this to the vibrant resonator out back. Again, this is not to scale, but that's where the vibrant resonator would sit. This nice smooth flow will help the exhaust gases and the exhaust flow nicely through the system. Systems with additional curves help sort of reduce some of those crazy exhaust sounds that you can get from straight pipes. It just allows the gas to sort of flow nicely and evenly throughout the system. So again, this is probably how I would do it personally. But let's go over the second option here, which you saw in the image is a direct shot out the back of the car. And that would just go like this. It would just follow that exhaust canal under the car. Your transmission and your drive shaft is running right here. This straight shot is generally, again, more of a rowdy setup. Those exhaust gases flow very, very rapidly out the system. It doesn't give it really time to absorb some of those weird frequencies throughout these curves. It's just shot straight out. So what I do like about this setup, though, is that there's a large area for you to potentially fit a big resonator. If you want to really maximize the flow, this is probably the best way to go. But if you don't like those crazy, aggressive exhaust tones and you just want to, tame it down a little bit, you could fit a nice big resonator in here. You probably could fit additional resonator in this location too, but you're sort of kind of constricted. You may be able to get one in before it has to bend, but it might limit the size of resonator you can fit in there. The Flow Effects resonators are like 14-inch canisters, I think 18 or 20 inches overall. The U-Power ones are like 20, 22 inches long. So there's not a lot of space here in this region. And there's definitely limited space here in this spot as well. You could probably fit a small vibrant in here or something, but this one definitely gives you more leeway in terms of where to fit an additional resonator. Generally, I don't like resonators to follow directly after the Borla. It just doesn't allow it to work like it needs to. It needs to be closer to the exhaust tip to absorb those final frequencies. You're giving the exhaust too much time after the last resonator. And although there is a resonator here, they're going to work better closer to the end or more in the middle of the system rather than being directly after the Borla. That's just my 2 cents there. But those are your 2 options, a direct shot down the driver's side of the car or more of a sweeping, flowing system out the passenger side. And don't forget, guys, this is all 3-inch piping now. So it goes, again, from 2.5 into the Borla and then exits at 3 inches. 3-inch flow all the way out. The Vibrant has a 3-inch inlet and then a 4-inch tip. It'll fill up that gap nicely, and it'll be polished stainless, so it'll look good, it'll stay nice, and flow really, really well. Another question I always get asked is, where do you get the pipe? Don't worry about the pipe. An exhaust shop is going to have 3-inch and 2.5-inch pipe available for you. No, it won't be stainless steel. You don't need stainless steel. It'll be typical exhaust shop aluminized steel. It's not going to rust. It won't deteriorate on you. Make sure they spray something on your welds and they won't rust. But that'll last you, and it'll sound good, and it'll stay good quality for a long time. This was a setup I actually considered pursuing myself, but I just can't make myself get rid of the Speed Culture Studios dual exhaust system. This custom catvac is, 500-600 people have it installed now. It sounds great. I'm super happy with it, and I just can't picture myself taking it out to install a 3-inch. Just something about the symmetry. I can't do it. So we're going to stick with this, but if any of you guys want to pursue this single exit exhaust, I'll provide any support that I can in terms of, information or guidance. Any decent exhaust shop will be able to handle this for you, no problem. Especially if they've ever seen a single exit system before in their lives. I mean, there's nothing crazy about this. Absolutely nothing crazy about this. If they tell you that they can't do it or it won't work, or whatever, I mean, they're just not trying that hard, to be quite honest with you. Again, it shouldn't take more than an hour, 2 hours. So if they're trying to quote you $600, $700, $800 for installation, they just don't want to do it. Any decent shop is going to be able to accomplish this for you, no problem. All the components are linked in the description below, but again, I'll provide any support that I can, potentially in terms of information or guidance. What I would love from you, though, if you do pursue this, is sound clips. Message me sound clips on Instagram, or post some sound clips and flybys and revs and whatever on Instagram and tag me in them so I can share them with the community. We want to, there's a bunch of people asking now about single exit systems from Speed Culture Studios. So, we've got to try to provide this to them. And of course, they're going to want to hear how it sounds. And I, of course, want to hear how it sounds as well. Again, it's not too far off from the dual exhaust system. It's just a few less components. And if obviously there's any customization that you want to do, you want to pursue a smaller resonator out back, or you want to add a flow effects resonator in the middle of the system to tone it down, I want to see all of the variations that you guys come up with about this system. But this is how I would do it personally. If I was going to do this tomorrow, these are the pieces I would buy. This is how I would tell the shop at Inman Muffler I want it routed. They may have some additional feedback, but we don't want to restrict flow. We don't have any weird kinks, or if you're going to an exhaust shop, they're not really, they're not doing mandrel bends for you. So people like to call them crush bends, but you just don't want tight ones, because then you start to really lose the internal diameter of the exhaust pipe, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to restrict flow if you can help it. So nice flowy curves is the way to go. If you guys have any questions about this single exit exhaust system, leave them down in the comment section below. I'll get to them as quickly as I possibly can. I still get to every single comment that I can, so I'll do my very best. But thank you guys very much for coming to me and asking what I would do in terms of a single exit exhaust system, because it's something that I've thought about for a very, very long time. And it's something I've almost pursued on a couple occasions, but I'm glad you guys are thinking about it. I'm glad you're, I'm flattered and humbled that you guys would ask my opinion about this or what I would do. So I'm pumped to see people actually jump on this and get it installed. And please, again, if you do it, share it with me on Instagram, send me an email, whatever. I want to get the clips out there to the community and let everybody know what this would sound like, what it would look like under the car, and how it performs on the dyno for our Q50s, because there's not a lot of people doing this with Q50s yet. So it's sort of a cool thing to break the mold. So let's do it. Let's provide any information we can to the community and share it with everybody that wants to hear it. So thank you guys very much for watching. I appreciate the continued support more than you can even imagine. Good stuff coming for the channel. Onward and upward for Speed Culture Studios, and onward and upward for you guys. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next one.